3 months ago. Just got out of a bad relationship. Need to clear my head. Decide to dig out the old shotgun and head in a woods. I live in Kentucky, so there isn't a lot of full-blown forest. At least not in my specific area. The one place I know I will be able to escape modernity is Daniel Boone National Forest. Henceforth referred to as DB Forest. It's fucking huge. You can go off the beaten path and end up miles and miles away from other human beings. I spent about 2 days gathering supplies, ammunition, food, water, extra warm clothing in case the weather went to shit. The basics. I had enough stuff to stay a whole week. Load up my Jeep and get on the road. I got there at about 7 p.m. Left around 5 because I wanted a home-cooked dinner before I forced myself to live on canned chili and salted hog/rabbit/whatever. I parked and looked at the trail map to get my bearings. After taking an hour to plan a safe route into the heart of the forest, I got on the move. Sorry if this is dragging the story out, you gotta understand exactly what my mistakes were that sent my nice innawoods trip into the deep end. On the first day I hiked a good 10 miles, and about half of that was off the path. I lost a Snickers bar down a ravine and that was pretty disheartening. I made camp by a stream so if my fire started to become an issue I wouldn't have to put it out with my drinking water. I left my shelter for about 2 hours to hunt. I didn't find shit. I saw a few deer but they were out of season. I came back to camp, sucked it up, and ate the fucking chili. This routine of hiking further and setting up camp continued without incident until about 3 days in. I was hunting again and this time actually killed a rabbit. Rabbit was out of season at the time but at this point I had enough of the chili. I was bringing it back to camp, and on top of a hill to my right there were some particularly tall trees. Dangling between 2 branches, was a thing. I don't know what else to call it. It had 2 short legs and 2 incredibly long arms. It had hands that gripped around the entire trunk of each tree. I couldn't really see its face, all I knew at this point was that it saw me looking at it. In a single swift motion whatever it was flung itself backwards and I heard bark breaking farther back. I returned back to my camp, and once again I saw it. This time it was about 200 feet from me. Once again, it retreated in the same fashion as it did previously, except this time I saw it clinging to trees and swinging around until it was out of sight. Whatever this thing was, I wasn't getting vibes from it like it was a predator or malevolent or anything like that. It seemed to be more of a curious observer. Everywhere I went, until the 5th day, my little follower was there. It was never more than 200 feet away, and never less than 100. I had finally gotten a look at its face, and it wasn't too disturbing. It looked kind of like a monkey. The only thing that I could really pick out about its face that was odd, had to be the jaw. It was permanently hanging open. Inside its mouth were about 2 rows of teeth on each jaw, but the teeth looked oddly human apart from that. Anyway, on the 5th day I woke up and began packing up camp. I looked around for my little buddy and found him missing. At this point I was going to head back home. I began the long hike back. When I reached the halfway point between campsites, I noticed my little friend on a tree. But something was different. His arms were dangling at his sides, and his legs were dangling too. I looked closer and he had been impaled on a broken off branch. I booked it a good 400 feet before looking back again. There was another. This one was significantly larger, and it was tearing the small one apart. I watched it eat for about 30 seconds before it looked at me. Yeah, time to go. This one gave me serious vibes. It felt hateful, and definitely predatory. This time I hiked well after nightfall. Every once in a while I would hear deep hoots and howls. At around midnight, I heard crackling bark and strained branches behind me. Here is where I said fuck this shit and started running. I heard whatever was behind me gaining speed and I realized that flight wasn't working. I jumped straight to fight and started unloading into the trees behind me. Silence. I could make up something about hearing a pained howl or hearing my shots impact something other than wood, but in all honesty I heard none of that. Silence. It was long gone. My shots probably scared it away, and I'm fine with that. I didn't stop hiking until I reached my car about a day later. Came home, decided not to type it immediately, and forgot about it. I only just remembered it because I saw an article about animals being shredded out there at DB Forest.
Cool story, Op. The thing must have been huge for its hands to wrap around the entire tree trunks. Could you give a rough estimate of how big it was? Also, it was hairy, right? Doesn't sound much like Bigfoot though, Disa.
The smaller one was about the size of a Great Dane. It just had big ass hands. The larger one was more on par with a black bear.